now in our text, Joseph absolutely loses it. Everyone can see him, they can hear him. It's that ugly cry, that sobbing cry, and he tries to hold it back. But after all that he's gone through over the last several years, it finally pushes its way out. Joseph has been waiting for a moment to just let it all out. Now here's what's interesting. He doesn't cry when he gets thrown into a pit. He doesn't show this kind of emotion when he's falsely accused, not when he gets thrown into a prison, not when he's forgotten about for 2 whole years, which lets us know that he survived his trauma, but he hasn't dealt with it. At that moment, Joseph shows us that success and fulfilled dreams don't always heal old wounds. I mean, we can't outrun every dot, because the effect of some dots linger beneath the surface of our success, and then something triggers it. And we realize that certain dots still impact us, and yet it's hard for us to believe that elevation doesn't heal those emotions. In fact, this past week there was so much conversation around Simone Biles, arguably one of the most decorated Olympic gymnasts ever. I mean, that's a title, right? I mean, there was so much conversation around her these last few weeks because in one competition she pulled herself out of it because she said she lost her place in the air and she didn't feel mentally right and it felt unsafe to compete. Now, the fact that this was such news revealed that in some ways that we are really uncomfortable with success and wounds existing in the same person. I mean, she's won over 30 medals competing professionally. She grew up and was in and out of foster care. She is the last competing sexual assault victim from the physician that had been in the news for months. I mean, this is not some amateur we're talking about. I mean, she is one of the greatest Olympic gymnasts to have ever competed. But I think it says so much about us as the audience. Because in some ways, I think that we are great as an audience for people to display their gifts, but not their wounds. Maybe that's why when Jesus was asked to prove his divinity, Jesus does not show up feeding thousands. Jesus does not show up healing blind men. Jesus does not heal leprosy, but Jesus shows Thomas his wounds. In fact, author Henry Nouwen uses the term wounded healers, but let's make this fit. I think to some extent we are all wounded, fill in the blanks. We are wounded dreamers. We are wounded spouses, wounded parents, wounded sons, wounded daughters, wounded people. And even though our wounds are not always our fault, healing is still our responsibility. I mean, Joseph, this was not all of his faults, but he has some wounds that he has to deal with, but he's not depending on his brothers for his healing. So let me ask the critical question, what dots have you survived that still need to be healed?